Welcome to Dr. Jester Talks, and I'm gonna talk about, well, something that I like to dabble from time to time, and sometimes I like to mention it on my channel, but it's not as often because the news are usually, well, not as numerous or as earth-shattering as some might be, but this one is at least seems to be worth a mention. Anyway, from Tally Ho Corner. Right, if you remember this, it's a Tim Stone website after the rock, paper, shotgun fired him for stating the facts. I covered this a couple of years ago. I like to come to this website quite often to see strategy games, simulators, and things like that. It's a very good place, and I think you should check it out. But anyway, here it is, the news. Micropros multitask like mad. Micropros, if you're not familiar with it, is the developer, well, at least the current one seems to be a bit different. They just got the name, but initially Micropros was the developers of some of the best games in my youth. From F-15 Strike Eagle for SNES to, well, the Falcon series. The Falcon, which has made a dynamic campaign a must on simulators, which we got, for instance, in different levels, like Enemy Engage, Comanche versus Hokum, and the Apache versus... I forgot the other one. Oh, Apache versus Havoc. There you go. There you go. Combat... Oh, cover that one later. Let's see, Combat Flight Simulator 3. The second one was semi-dynamic. There's also Strike Fighters. Possibly a few others that I don't quite remember right now. And it's amazing, but none have quite managed to match the dynamic campaigns that we get in Falcon 4.0, in which makes you not only a pilot, a cockpit inside the plane, a pilot in there, but you're just a small little cog in the war. The war goes on, even if you get shot down or you complete your mission. The war goes on and keeps on raging. You could even be bombing and then, I successfully bombed this airport. And then when you get back and then the ATC, which is amazing, tells you, please divert because the airport is now closed due to losing to the enemy forces or something thereabouts. I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember what they said exactly. But it was amazing. But anyway, let's continue here. The September-October issue of PC Pilot. I miss that magazine. I miss Civilized Lands. I miss you, UK. Well, anyway, contains a surprise-studded interview with Micropro CEO David Leggetti. I'm butchering his name. Among other things, David discloses that Falcon 5.0 is in the planning stage. Will support many aircraft on release, including the F-35. Well, planning stage is very, 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 very early in development. They are deciding what may or may not include, what is or is not feasible, and things like that. They still haven't possibly decided to program the engine or which engine to use, or they're still choosing it. Anyway, I need one wrinkle. It's random at gamers who just want to get in and fly. That's good. Having also cockpit click like we get on Falcon and DCS, and cockpits like we get on US Air Force, the game that came out 20 odd years ago, and like Strike Fighters, it's not a problem. In fact, I actually support it because sometimes I just want to go and fly. Anyway, he reveals that the company's remake of the B-17 Flying Fortress, yes, moving on. But here is another thing that I also want to mention. Because, first and foremost, Falcon 5.0, that's a huge news, because it's finally, competition to DCS because DCS has been pretty much the only one on the market that offers modern and relatively Cold War simulators or aircraft out there in decades. We haven't had anything even close to that lately. Obviously, they also cover World War II, but their stuff World War II loses against IL-2. Let's leave it at that. But before I continue, here's a trailer. Right, don't forget to check it out. Anyway, considering that DCS is the only one in the market, it means that it comes with a very hefty problem. They think they are doing you a favor. For instance, they have been promising that dynamic campaign for an eternity that never came out. Their product, for instance, their F-16 is very subpar compared to the Falcon 4.0 BMS variant. It's very lackluster, even there's multiple errors on the model itself. Somebody made a post about it, and I can confirm there's a lot of errors in there. And they think that, and they view any criticism of their product as something evil and that it needs censorship. That's a problem. Plus, their pricing system, they actually actively hate third worlders. In fact, their price increase on the third world countries surpasses those of the first world countries. I mean, you cannot afford a plane or something that costs half the minimum wage or 1/3 of the average wage of the country. While meanwhile, that's not even a problem for a first world country. It's expensive, sure, but at least it's not going to cost you what? Let's see, average $2,000 for $3,000. The American, I haven't checked it yet, but imagine if it costed $1,500 on an airplane. Or $1,000. Would you buy it? I don't think so. So I began to relatively soft boycott them, as in not buy anything first party from them. As in not touch anything that they release, that they made them themselves directly. So I know that the moment you actually order a third-party airplane, as in anything made by Razban, Hitblur, or any other company, it means that a percentage will definitely go to Eagle Dynamics, which is the developer of DCS. But even then, it's still not as much as it would be if you actually bought from them. So that's why I prefer to buy from Steam and third-party developers only. So the less money, my money, that goes to them, the better. For them to learn a lesson. Because every time they do, they keep on releasing early access airplanes that they never finish. Like the F-18, which is basically still not finished. and that has been out for years. So, a competitor is definitely most welcome, and this is what I mean with third party. Third party usually overtake Eagle Dynamics in quality. Look at the upcoming F4 Phantom, my #1 favorite plane of all time. Look at the beauty of the airplane, and it's really well made. And I also want to point out that I do worry when interviewed at Matt Wagner. He's kind of like a spokesperson for Eagle Dynamics. This worries me. Matt is asked about getting a Saab, Gripen, or Rafale. Matt says that the problem with the 4+ Gen is getting the resources. Mover mentions that he's interviewed the Falcon Saab before, and he said he'll do an introduction. You never know what might come from that. Yeah. But I also want to point out a very specific thing back at the Tally Ho. Oh, this one, I forgot to mention, this is from Storm. This one is from Stormbird Flight Sim News. Right, back to this. He mentions here a very interesting mention. A tackle on the end of the paragraph confirming that an Apache sim in the authentic microprose style. I'm pretty hoping that it is like an Apache, like the Apache Longbow games, or at the very least like Gunship, but with a dynamic campaign. Is coming was news that MPS has not only signed Combat Air Patrol 2, an early access high-rare sim assumed by many to be abandoned. Yes, it felt abandoned because it has been years since we had a single update from the developer. It was tried to go to the Kickstarter initially, but failed. Then he proceeded with his own funding, and we received quite a few updates. I think he wasted way too much time on VR, but instead of actually adding the features that the simulator needed. But overall, it's a very good little simulator that I haven't flown in quite a while. I haven't tested the latest update, which was years ago. But it's nonetheless an interesting uptake. Let's see. Meant to be abandoned, but we're preparing a very comprehensive update for it and planning to use its bespoke engine to power a new Battle of Britain sim. That's also very good because this simulator here, Combat Air Patrol, is in fact a dynamic campaign simulator. It has a dynamic campaign. Well, at least in very bare bones, actually, because I don't think he ever managed to finish it. But if there is a nice little update and we get something coming out of this, which includes an Apache, this is a very good news. So maybe we are indeed on the renaissance of flight simulators. Because I'm gonna be honest, it's really nice to finally get something new, and instead of looking at old games that is getting released on Steam here and there and hoping that somebody managed to make them work on modern Windows without some sort of hoop jumping emulator praying to the gods, alternatives and things like that. It's a very good thing. And especially what I'm definitely looking forward to is a DCS competitor. Well, on that fucking hell, which quite frankly, it's at least a good news. Have a great fucking night.